I'm going to read John 15:10. Actually, I'll start from uh, 9. As the Father loved me, I also have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love. And that's where uh, many pastors, many goofy pastors, stop. They say it's a new covenant and everything is done away with. Everything of that our Father required of His chosen people, and that's what we are when we're grafted in. Now it remains that He still has a chosen people, but we're grafted in. Even Gentiles. Well, even Gentiles. Gentiles are grafted in, and there's 12 gates, and there's not a Gentile gate. But it continues. I'll reread 10. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. So there's another verse. We are to walk just as Yehoshua walked. We are to walk just as Yeshua walked. Okay. And that coupled with he kept our Father's commandments. There was no New Testament with the apostles. There was no New Testament with when Yeshua was here, when he walked here. He was at the temple every Sabbath, as was his custom. Okay, so you tell me, what are his Father's commandments? The thing is, family, people are willfully ignorant. This is very plain. We are to walk just as Yehoshua walked. We are to walk just as Yeshua walked, and he. Look, if you keep his commandments, if you keep Yeshua's commandments, you will abide in his love, just as he kept his Father's commandments and abided in his love. So, what are Yah's commandments? That's how Yeshua walked. That is the New Testament, family. Look, he's the capital P prophet that, as prophesied about by Moses, that would come to magnify law and make it honorable. Now, to continue, people like to talk about like Peter in his vision, and with the unclean animals, and I should be able to recall the verse. But the unclean animals, all animals, including unclean animals, were caught in a net. And Yah said, kill and eat, including the unclean animals. And Peter said, surely not. Now let me ask you, family. Now it's very plain. It's plain to deduce from scripture that is talking about people. There's no excuse. But even then, Peter said, surely not. Peter was appalled that he would be asked that. Now you tell me, Peter walked with Yeshua as long as he did, and he wouldn't know better? That surely, the fullness of Yah, Yeshua, you tell me that Yeshua wouldn't have known and wouldn't have taught Peter, and especially Peter being who he was, and he wouldn't know any better. The thing is, family, is ridiculous. So I'd encourage you not to listen to your pastor anymore. Search things out for yourself, because these pastors, many of them are criminals, family. It's very plain to deduce by just me sharing. I'll put that together. Okay, we are to walk just as Yeshua walked. What did he do? He abided in his Father's love, in our Father's love, our Father in heaven, his love, by keeping his commandments. That's John 15:10. That's your New Testament, as the pastors like to say. Reason, family, and be honest with yourself, because we're without excuse. The pastor ain't going to do a thing for you.